posterior space must be filled with wax. And so from here, that is even with the palatal stop, we move to the posterior. We forget the anterior. We forget about the wax up of the anterior. We just move to the posterior. And the three-step does not consider the second molar for different reasons. One of the reasons is the second molar is the most difficult tooth for a shape from a Wilson and Spe. It's very accentuated Spe and Wilson, so it will be always in conflict if you don't get correctly the rest of the teeth. So I put as the last tooth when I stabilize after the three-step. So if you have three teeth, your posterior wax up would be two premolar and a molar. Forget about this and forget about the anterior. So we enter in the second step only with these three teeth. And this is the beauty of the three-step, because you will do the occlusal adjustment only focusing on three teeth on one side and three teeth on the other side, because that will be what you will look at. You will not consider the second molar, there is always a problem, and the front teeth. They can also create interference. You will just get the occlusal adjustment of the posterior. So how do we increase the vertical? You can, in the past, we had so many worry about the increase of vertical dimension. But if I can tell you my experience, if the white bite is correctly dynamic, integrated, the increase of vertical is only beneficial. The people that complain that the vertical is not accepted by the patient is because they don't do occlusal adjustment correctly. This is the problem. So the increase of vertical dimension now is additive, not because I don't believe that the patient can tolerate. It's because I need to do all the dynamic, and I better start with the bigger space, because during all the occlusal adjustment, I lose it. So I want to have this test drive. They look like an occlusal guard, because I keep shaping an occlusal guard that after it's not just a flat, it looks my project, my posterior garage, external and internal, and it's done in composite. Do you do direct in the mouth? Do indirect. Remember that when you bond like this, you go faster. The fastest way is that your lab technician provides you something and you just bond. But my white bite sometimes become definitely final because of many reasons. So for me, to bond this um, with the contact point together, at this point I go with individual onlays. But if I go with individual onlays, take more time than just press the key. So there is, I know I have all these options, and for each patient I have to decide. But more I go towards the final restoration, more I spend time in the reconstructive. More I give the key done all together, more I can start the rehabilitation. Because the key is very quick done, three together, instead of bonding three individual only with the mesial and distal adjustment that I do with the rubber dam, with the one at a time, so it takes time. So for instance, this woman, she received one, two, three, and four transparent key. But these two premolar and these two premolar are actually final ceramic piece of ceramic because she didn't have anything. So I complicate my life because I went for her, I did something like this. The molar had the transparent key, provisional, and I had the four premolar final. So I had to bond for longer time. But what did I do? Because I knew that this was such a little enamel. I wanted to preserve with the final bonding. But to do so, you need to be really sure about the shape, the occlusion of the patient. Otherwise, it would be composite because composite can be modified. So you can make your life more complex. You can deliver a complete denture, partial denture. You can deliver implant supported. I show you always teeth because in this way we standardize the treatment. But there are so many variables. What is not variable is the project. Because when you look at this, my three-step, and you compare to this of another dentist, can you see the difference? The difference is in the planning of the posterior garage. This is not correct. I can already see that this is not good. And I wish I can explain to you why this one will never work. And to make this machine work, you will do so many occlusal adjustments that is not worth it. It should have been done before. But when you look, it seems that it's center, it seems that this is are okay, but this is really bad. It doesn't work. And this is based on the awareness of center the mandible, external garage. External garage means the vestibular cusp should be open but not empty. And you will know what it is. Internal garage should be small. This doesn't mean anything for you, but this is the three-step code that will allow you to check your project. So if you keep in mind external garage open but not empty, internal garage small, you will see that you can see before deliver the restoration, any restoration, even a single crown, you should analyze with the three-step eyes. Because when you look at this, what do you understand? And this is always the shape that they show us. Always like this, always this occlusal shape. We are talking about garage, like the anterior garage. You need to see the door and the car to check the anterior garage. And for the posterior garage, you need to see the upper and the lower together. And you will divide the teeth in two pieces. This is the external and this is the internal. So you have four garage. They must function together. That's why people hate occlusal adjustment. It's complex. We need to do it. So what I ask you is external garage open but not empty, empty. Internal garage smaller. Let's keep this one and I will get back to this. And you see that these people will destroy garage. So we need to make a proposition. Started with the first proposition because when we were doing the aesthetic external, we were provided a new external door, but we did not consider the car. So in this picture, we just were looking at this aesthetically. The other three of the garage, just for that side, and after you have on the other side. So that's why when you guys do the aesthetic mock-up, don't pay with the patient too much attention to the posterior because they are extremely important in function. So don't make the patient too attentive to them because you may change because of function. So this is the one out of four cusp that we have a little bit understood. What about the other? The internal garage is totally empty. And somebody would feel smaller or bigger filler. Do you like it? Because if you don't, if you could do some occlusal adjustment in the model, it would be better if you can remove mistake. Because when you do the digital, the technician is a full keep, and we have done this check. I'm not fan of digital WhatsApp. I'm not fan. Because when you do three-dimensional WhatsApp, the way we were doing, there was haute couture. You know Giorgio Armani? That was my type of WhatsApp. Now, when I go to this, for me, is Zara. But there are more people that will buy Zara than Giorgio Armani. I know that I cannot propose Giorgio Armani. And I know that the majority of the laboratory technicians are not good in doing the WhatsApp because the WhatsApp is not paid, takes a lot of time. So people like the initial visit, we don't make them pay, and the WhatsApp, the laboratory technician don't charge enough, and so they go very fast. We did for a digital WhatsApp cross section like this to see all the contact points. They were not contact point correct. But here you don't see because it's overlapped. But if you take a cross section and with digital you could do, we were scanning, it was like a ridiculous in contact. It was very sad, but I knew because since I've been doing mock-up, wax, white bite with the digital, I do many more occlusal adjustment, much more. So before I was like 20 minutes, the patient. Now, ooh la la. So even more, I do quality control. And this is my personal experience. the digital has accelerated the work of the laboratory, not mine. But when you go around, the tendency is to tell you the opposite. No. If you came from high quality wax, the digital is prêt-à-porter, Zara. But we need to work also with the digital. But I want you to analyze the internal garage. What is this? The anterior stop. What is that? A space to feel. Can you feel that space? You have the possibility, free possibility, to distribute that space. You can take this space and you can divide it between all the upper and all the lower. This is called distribution. When this is necessary, when like in this case, all the teeth are destroyed. And let's pretend that these are not destroyed, they are intact. We are at the beginning of the problem. Maybe we can do one arch distribution. What does it mean? That we can give all the space to only one arch. But the antagonistic should be intact and the shape. Why? Because the shape of the not restore function will guide the shape of the antagonistic. There is a third distribution that is called mix. What does it mean? Upper and lower, not all the teeth. Let's imagine that this premolar is intact. Let's imagine that this crown is super erupted and the surface is just in the perfect position. Upper and lower, yes, but not all the teeth, because if it's all the teeth, it's a two-arch distribution. But this is just to communicate with your laboratory technician. But now, if you take a two-arch, this is a two-arch distribution, upper and lower. Do you like it? Because this is the point. If the laboratory technician, they take in the mouth and they start to, you could move on the articulator. Do you think this is what happened in the mouth? Not at all. So, myself and to my lab technician that this movement I need to do in the mouth with the patient not anesthetized. Because this is beautiful, but the articulator is really not good. So I want my lab technician to provide me with the garage that are easy to be shaped with the simple occlusal adjustment, but the shape should be already good. Because this is not correct. So you see, there is somebody that has provided the patient with this type of posterior garage. And to do so, we need to see how people function. Because it's all about the posterior teeth. So if I ask you, Barbara, do you provide your patient, this Barbara is not there, allora, let's see who can I ask, Marina, because I see, Marina, do you want your laboratory technician to give you canine guidance or Because this is what they teach us. Give canine guidance, give group function. Anybody wants to talk about this type of, because this is canine guidance or group function is part of the determination how to do the shape of the posterior teeth. Canine guidance. Raise your hand.
Je vais keep it here.
Hey, first of all, somebody did 99% of the dentists ask canine guidance to their laboratory technician. No, no, who wants a group function? Because I say, how can we do this motion if the articulator cannot provide us? And we, in the preset, don't even have the canine. Because if I don't have the canine in my wax up, because it's not waxed up, the palatal aspect, they just have to deal with the three posterior teeth on one side. So I want you guys to look at the real patient, not the motion on the articulator. And the real patient have two basic functions. Barbara, come back because you are missing this important part. I don't know where she is. Because normal, either she's working or she's, she's at her house. Anyway, so two big categories. Two people, they are really 100% horizontal and 100% vertical. Imagine there are people that are mixed, one side horizontal, one side vertical. But I take two big categories so we understand better. The horizontal function, when you ask them to slide on one side, and when you ask to slide on the other side, let's look how they look like. First of all, an horizontal will have a very little overlap. It will not be a deep bite. Vertical are deep, and this one are almost edge to edge. So when you ask an horizontal to slide on one side and to slide on the other side, look what happened. When they slide, all the teeth are in contact, but even on the other side, and you see little space open. And when they go out of the sheet open range, and the patient is telling me that the diastema are opening up. When you see a vertical moving, deep bites, when they slide on one side, big canine. Do you see the other side? Do you see the big disclusion? Let's go back because this is really important. Very little disclusion, keep very much in contact. When you slide on one side, look at the other side. When you slide, look at the other side. Because we never look at the other side. When she moves, you will see that she doesn't even touch the teeth to slide. She just open up. And don't tell me that you did not see patient that she's not touching the teeth. You see that she just open. Even in protrusive, she doesn't touch. She just open up. And I'm sure you have seen patients that when they say slide forward, they tells you with the upper on the lower.
To keep stay in charge, because sometimes when I see that's
Because these people are so fixed that they don't have a knowledge of sliding. motion that you saw are lateral motion that are not really something that the patient do. It's something that we ask them to do. If people don't slide on one side and the other side, they chew. And if you chew, you don't start from the center outside. When you chew from the outside, you go inside. So that all the knowledge that we have about occlusion is on the articulator. But we need to reformat. In fact, I really hope, guys, that you come and do the fun function. Because when you see people chewing, they don't go from in, out. They want to go from out, in. And the horizontal have a cyclic. They enter, they get out. The vertical, they chop. They just open and close. So let's look in horizontal. They, I call the washing machine. Can you see? He's fine. He loves to chew. He can chew hours. He doesn't get tired. But what do you see? What happened? What is this destiny? The front teeth. Bye bye. Because who is an horizontal? Will edge to edge. So he is an horizontal and she's pushing the teeth out. And that's why she's having the diastema. Because while she chews, she does ortho every day. So there is an orthodontist that doesn't know about function and gave her Invisalign, move in, and put a wire. She breaks the wire. In the same orthodontist, put a big Michigan bite. So during the day, she push out. At night, Michigan bite, push in. During the day, push out. During the night, push in because of the bite. Recession everywhere. Because this is a jiggling. Alonso, go back and see all the case that break the wire in ortho. I cannot do orthodontics anymore because if you don't change the function, you cannot keep the teeth in the conflict. If the ortho gave a chewing gum to their patient and put the finger to hear all the frenitus, they will stop doing the madness that they do with the wire. This one, true, is not good. It's not like this guy. You see this guy, he could. I call them washing machine. You will see, she chew like this. And they say, I hate to chew on chewing gum. But why? Because chewing gum is like a running and you need to catch a bus. People that are trained, hey, people that are not trained after 3 steps, they say, oh, I cannot, I hate to run after the bus. But it's not running after the bus. No, it's not chewing the gum. It's that they don't chew. They chop because chewing is motion. Chewing is enter and exit. And the food is enter from the external garage and is crushed in the inside internal garage. So look how she took her fitment. She did that. So these are the poor kids that after a while, they are tired. And so that's why I really would like that this topic about function really gets you, because we need not only look at the project, but we need to take the project and to functionalize. And you know how I learn to see the project? Because I take the WhatsApp that I receive from my laboratory technician, and I take all the photographs. In fact, in the book of the 3-step that I'm writing, there are all the pictures to take. But because if you don't take the picture, you don't see the project before going in the mouth, and you need to intercept the problem of the garage before that. I will show you some of these projects or some of these problems. So it's not that I want to bother you about laboratory work, because in our profession, since there's been a separation, instead, we are the one more interested in the project than the laboratory technician. Because here, to remove the wax, it's 2 minutes. In the mouth, I don't even see. And these are the picture of the man. I don't know if you remember all deviated that I show you with the reprogramming mock-up. When I took the picture of the WhatsApp and I was supposed to go and do the white bike, I went to see all the picture. There was no one photograph of the internal garage. I did not photograph the internal garage. That means that I don't know how was that internal garage. But in my experience, I do mistake only once. Now, all my patients receive the picture of the internal garage. I should have taken of him this type of picture. Because if I show you this picture, I can tell you that here it's too thick. And it will be in contrast with this. It's too big, that internal garage. So nowadays, I always take the picture and I take and I remove this and I open this space. Okay, and we have this fracture, the lingual cast of the mandibular. Go and check the opposing, because many times the top one is too bulky and we don't even know. So picture of the inside. Because that if you have controlled this WhatsApp, and not like this only, in the garage, you will decide how to go in the mouth. And you could do the CAP-CAM final restoration, or you could do the transparent key. That they are fantastic. We do, for instance, for the transparent key, a course practical, how to do the key, how to transform the WhatsApp, because those are all technical things that I do before, because when I go in the mouth, what you see here is not going to happen if you have not checked the wax and the key, because you see, it's free of excess. So people say, I hate the transparent key. I say, but have you been trained on that? No. It's a pity, because this key is a fantastic way to fill a key with warm-up composite and to press, because this is like a monolithic direct composite. So you will do like it is a direct composite, and after that, you press. And this is the best that you could do. This one will always be open already first day. The problem are four surfaces. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So how do you open? Not the day that you are doing the white bite, not that day, it's too early. You want to wait, that they may be open by themselves. If they don't, for instance, you could decide that this will look nicer. So open this one, strip, and after that you do a direct composite. This is an upgrade, it's called a direct posterior upgrade. But you need to have prepared everything that these two are perfectly made. How? That these embrasures are very hard in the wax, and the key really capture. There are not excess of composite, because otherwise they will never open by themselves. You want also here in the wax to do a little cut, very little cut here. And 0.5, not 3 millimeter, because otherwise it's an open contact point. And they can break. And if you place this strip in Teflon, the underline is not with composite. And so this is the T-Tech by Dr. Kuma. This was my first one. I placed, and after you can pull them, and they will never be stuck. So this is really a good thing to do. When do you place the matrix? You place the matrix after you have some blast to clean. You etch, you dry, and you place the strip. Always after the strip, protection in metal. This is a metal matrix, because you are supposed to put the bond, polymerize, remove the metal strip, and push the key. So this is an excellent technique. So remember, the strip in Teflon are placed before the bond, because in this way it's all dry. You don't have to have the strip while you are using an etch rinse. And you can recycle crowns. This is crowns, ceramic. How do you do? This This was the page